Hi, what's going on? Coming on my Friday night rant. Today, I'm going to get right into it. But before I get into it, I want to say I am basing this off of working in IT over a decade from my experiences, my thoughts, things I've seen with my own two eyes.
Battery 15%. Charge your glasses for
And
functionality.
pretty much, this is what I'm talking about tonight. Certifications or degree. A lot of videos out there. People that saying certifications, people that saying degrees. A couple of topics to kind of based around this first thing I'm talking about. But what I will say, based off my experience, is just depends on you, what you like, how you look at things, and your perspective. The pros to certifications is specific to a skill or area of IT that you work in, whether it's networking, the CCNA, whether it's Microsoft MCSA, Red Hat, Linux, all that good stuff. Whether you want to work in the terminal all day. And then there's a degree. It's your major in a specific discipline, whether it's information science, computer science, web development, cybersecurity now, it's a big thing. It's all kind of stuff out there. It's almost like going to the grocery store, going to the produce section. You got tomatoes, you got grapes, apples, pineapples, and which one of those work for you? I'm not here to tell you what's right and what's wrong. I'm just telling you, in this world of choices, you have to find what works for you, certification or degree. The pros, some of the cons, or the pros of a degree is versus certification is that some certifications, not all, but some, you have to retake that certification every 2 or every 4 years. And it's going to cost you. So when people say that college is debt, guess what? You got to pay to take certifications as well. Anything that helps you elevate, you're probably going to pay for. It's not free. Either you're going to pay for it in time, or you're going to pay for it in money, or you're going to pay for it in both. But it's not free. So keep that in mind. Certification, I think the CCNA, I don't know exactly. Let me look at how much it is to take CCNA now, but it's definitely not cheap. It's definitely an investment. You really got to understand what you're taking. And so right now it says $300 plus tax. Take the CCNA, whether you pass or fail. If you fail, that's $300. If you pass, $300. You got to take it again. If you failed, $600. It's up to you. College degree, you got to pay for your tuition. Could cost you anywhere, depending on what college you go to, 3, could be even 10,000 a semester, who knows? But this is what I say. You can't lose with either one. You got to pick which path you want to go down. Some people do both. Some people get the degree first, then they go get the certifications. Some people get the certifications to get their foot in the door, to get the job, and then they go get the degree after. Just depends on the journey that you want to go down. My experience was I went to 2-year college first, learned networking, got a job at an ISP place in Little Rock. That's where I'm from, Arkansas. I worked there. I took the CCNA. I think I missed it by a couple points. I missed it by passing it. And it was free from the school as well. And I don't knock anybody that took the certification and passed it. I don't. For me, personally, I didn't go back and take it because I didn't want to pay for it. I just didn't see the value in paying for something. And we're going to get to a slide why I didn't, but I just didn't see the value in paying. I think it was $250 when I was about 5 or 10 years ago. Probably about $250, something like that, $200. I was already working in the ISP place and was excelling at what I was doing. And I think I just graduated with an associate's degree. So my mindset then is I just didn't feel like I needed it. A certification anyway. Because one thing about a degree is once you have it, you have it. It can't be taken away. You're certified in whatever discipline you majored in. It's there. All you have to do is be able to execute or articulate your skills. But it's all about perspective, what journey you want to go down, and what you think like a logical path that you want to go down. So, what is the culture in your area? It's a whole new world. When you get into IT, it's a whole new world. It's not what you're used to. Like I said, I grew up in Southwest Little Rock. Ain't nothing in Southwest Little Rock about tech, working in IT. It was a whole new world for me. Almost a culture shock, pretty close to it. But it's not as chaotic as it can be working in the inner city. Still chaotic, but not as work. It's like corporate chaotic, I guess. And this is what I want to tell any person. There is no such thing as, I haven't seen nobody say they had the perfect job. There's always something that you have to deal with mentally, mental-wise, maybe stress level-wise, depending on who you are. But this is what I realized living in Little Rock. You can have the certifications. You really can. You can. But depending on, I want to say, the culture of the area that you live in, as far as the corporate culture, you have to be able to recognize this for yourself. And what I saw was the correlation of just seeing data with my own two eyes is, depending on where you want to be, the degree was the better way in order to have leverage in order to really advance yourself in the corporate space. This is just what I saw. Especially when you're looking to get into the management side, or you're really trying to up your value. Bachelor's degree plus experience plus the communication skills. I've seen people excel pretty good. Certifications, if you just want to be a high-level tech guy. If you don't want to be in management, you just want to be like a tech, analyst, network engineer 3 or something like that, yes, just stick to certifications. But if you want to get into the management side, executive side, you're more than likely, especially depending on what group you're in and the walk of life that you're at, you're probably going to have a degree. That's the culture that I saw. That's what I was exposed to. And there have been many a times that I have been in a running for some jobs, and the reason I would always get was I didn't meet the education level. When you get the email, the rejection email, or you didn't meet the educational requirements, you didn't meet the necessary educational criteria, I would run into that a lot. A lot. And that's when I started to realize the culture, like, it's more education, higher education based than it is certification based. Because I didn't want to put myself in a place to where I'm boxed in and I can only do this. I like to have options. That's just how I think. That's my logic, and that's how I roll. Certifications will box you in into that specialized section. Some people like that. I always like the opportunity or the challenge to learn something new or try something different. And I don't want to box myself in because I've seen it happen. I've even done it before, but box myself into something that's like, well, I see that you want to do this, but I see that you're really doing this. So I always like to keep my mind flexible to learn new things. Even in a culture where, it's mostly education, it's probably like, I want to say 70% education, 30% probably certification. Depending on where you want to go. Like, some people want to be a high-level tech. You'll probably be more 80% certification, 20% education. But if you want to get in the big leagues, from what I saw, you're going to have the degree. Look at the 1% or the top, the 5% earners, like 80,000 and above, and go look on LinkedIn. You can look on LinkedIn and you'll see a correlation. Now, there are some outliers. There are a group of people that have the privilege of not having to get neither one. But that ain't my problem. I can only focus on me. And that's the mindset that you got to have in this culture of the corporate world. You're going to see things. We're going to talk about this in a later slide. You're going to see things that's probably not fair. You're going to see things that's probably messed up. No different than being in the inner city. But you got to do what works for you. You got to understand your strategy. Don't get caught up in somebody else having the privilege of nepotism, having the privilege of knowing the right people. Learn from it. What can you do? Who can you know? Who can you build a professional network with? And the only way to bypass all of it is you got to own your own stuff. If you don't own your own business, you don't set your own atmosphere, it will never be the job that will be perfect. It will always be something. Unless you own your own. You got like a sole proprietorship and you're running your own business. So understand the culture in the area where you're at. So it's a whole new world sometimes. And it's not always your way. So when is the best time to start in IT? Looking back on hindsight, I actually had a late start. But I would say probably like maybe 8 going into 9th grade. If a kid's interested in that, to really expose them to the different phases of IT to see what they like and what sticks. And that way you can kind of have your strategy figured out by the time you graduate high school. And at that point, all you have to do is educate around that, get it done, and you'll be done by the time you're 23, 24. And now you're just waiting on or vetting opportunities that come your way. We have to start cultivating education or vocation or apprenticeship to our kids early. We can't just think they're going to get it or they're going to pick it up when they graduate, because that's unfair. That's unrealistic expectations, and not every kid's built like that. But if we give them the information while they're young, especially IT, and they can absorb it and they can learn these things, especially like programming, the younger you are, it's easier to pick up those really dense, heavy concepts and absorb it, and it becomes second in your memory. So when you actually get to college, now you're just exercising what you already know. And I challenge you to think, if you try to debate this, if you can learn social media, you can learn Instagram, you can learn YouTube, you can learn all these other things, you can learn something that you can better yourself in your corporate journey, your corporate career. But we have to cultivate that. As our own culture in our own community, we have to cultivate that. We do. We have to go back and start giving that information to the kids. And guess what? If the kids reject it, they can't say nobody didn't give it to them. Everybody's not going to like it. Everybody don't want to grind, go through the grind in order to get better, grind off the rough edges and get polished and get to that level of greatness. Everybody don't want to do that. I get it. But there are some kids that want to do that. They just don't have the information to know what the next step is. And that's why we make the content that we make. Thinking Game Podcast. Make sure to watch that. Mike Motivation. Make sure to watch that. I believe that these kids, even adults, the information to know what the next step is, or know that you can make it. Because you can. But you have to have the right mindset and you have to put in the work. Nobody's going to give you anything. And like I say, even with the support, you still have to go out and do your part. Even if you don't have the support. Because sometimes you may be doing something people don't even know what you're doing to even support you for. But you still have to go out and do it. If you're doing something positive, you know it's going to bring you value. Whether people support it or whether people encourage you or not, you have to encourage yourself. You have to know what's good for you. And you have to be able to have the go-getter mentality legally and legit. So, enduring the hard times in tech. Enduring the hard times. Everybody endure hard times. We all don't have to go through hard times. Whether it's growing up in school, whether it's living in the inner city, even in the corporate world, you will endure hard times. It's not going to be cake and ice cream the whole time. Especially when you're a minority, not a lot of diversity. Not everybody talking about DEI now. And I want to say this. When they're talking about DEI, they keep talking about merit. We have to have this discussion on what is the criteria for merit. Like, what do you mean by merit? It's such a broad word. It can mean anything to the person who is doing the hiring or who makes the decision on what merit is. Is it a fair assessment of a person's merit? Or are you basing the merit based on a bias, based on a pre-notion, or based on a level of discrimination or stereotype. What is a person's merit based on? Because if a person interviews me and they see that I'm qualified, I have everything that they have in the job description. I have experience, degree, good interview. And because they say I don't have to pick another person who's underqualified, but it's because he knows the right person. Does that mean he has more merit because he knows the right person? This kind of stuff happens in real life. So I don't get caught up in this stuff people talking about, you got to have the merit and all this. And listen, I think DEI was meant for the good, but when it got in the hand of humans, they turned it for the worse or for the bad. It was misused. It wasn't used the right way. Just my opinion. It wasn't used the right way. Everybody find loopholes in something, in some kind of rule that's made. And the word minority covers more than just black people. But if you didn't realize that, it's a broad word. It's not specific. And that's how they trick you sometimes. They make these laws and it's not specific. They make it for a group. And that group, it don't cover specifics. It's a group. It's broad. Let me give you an example. If I make, let's say I want to make protection for turtles. And I go try to write a law or a rule to protect turtles. But when I go do this, instead of making it specific about turtles, the lawmakers make a law and they put it with the group of reptiles. Instead of specifically saying turtles, they make it reptiles because they'll probably tell you as a politician, that's how they do it. If we do it specific to turtles, it may not pass. But if we put it under the banner of reptiles, have a better chance of passing. But what happens is it get used for many other things other than what it was supposed to be made for, was for the turtles. This is what happens all the time. Things are made for groups, not for a specific people, but for groups of people. And it's a feeding frenzy for whoever can take advantage of it first. If you can even take advantage of it, instead of making it specific so a specific group can take advantage of it and help themselves improve in value. If you can understand that analogy, we'll see. But let me know in the comments what you think about that. But enduring the hard times in tech, you deal with a lot of those things. I got a lot of homeboys I went to school with, man. We had to endure a lot of hard times, man. Working in ISP place, they hire you as a contractor, and then when the assignment's done, they'll lay you off. Even though you worked, you excelled at what you was doing, they tell you business is business, and it is what it is, and they lay you off. And the next slide, I'm gonna talk about why you have to look at it as a business. But when you endure the hard times, it builds character, it'll make you greater, and it gives you a better understanding of things and how things work together for the good. Because some of the things that happen, they happen for a reason. Really, all the things that happen for a reason. So my faith, one of the best things I did was to build my faith in God right when I was starting in IT. Then I got married. Shout out to my wife, Ashley. But working on our faith, me and my wife working on our faith while enduring the hard times in tech, really solidified and strengthened my faith, because I wouldn't be where I'm at now if everything would have went how I probably wanted it to go. If I would have never got laid off from the ISP place, I would probably, even though I'm not gonna say like it was easy, had some tough times. Being laid off is not easy, but it wouldn't have put the fire inside of me to be driven as I am now. I probably would have just settled with the associate's degree instead of going back, getting my bachelor's degree. If I wouldn't have got laid off, I wouldn't have been able to work in IT instead of networking to see the different sides of IT instead of just one side. Working as a IT specialist at this small company, I was able to be exposed to more of the corporate side because it was a smaller company and you had to work with the different top level people, everybody from top all the way down to the bottom. You had to work with everybody. So I got to talk to the CEO. I didn't talk to him, but I got to see stuff like with the CFO and stuff like that. You kind of see these people, interface with these people. You kind of see that if I can get my education, it is possible. Now, the odds are still, there's a lot of hurdles to jump, but I would rather jump the hurdles and see where it go than not do nothing at all, no progress at all. And that's what I would say. Don't be afraid to jump the hurdles, because you never know what's on the other side or what's at the finish line. Just never know. But if you endure the tough times in any career, you endure the tough time. You can endure the toughest day. The rest of the days won't be as bad. You got to ask yourself that. If I get this job, what is the toughest day that could happen, and can I endure that? And if you say yes to that, you'll be surprised how far you can go if you think like that. It's all about mindset. Last slide. Understanding you are a business.
It's always business, never personal.
You are a business, just as well as the company you work for is a business. And when you work for that company, they're paying you for your skills and your services. And you have to understand that you have skills and you have a service. Whether your skill is valued, whether your service has value, I don't know. That's something for you to determine. But if you have the right skills, the right value, the right mindset, the right communication skills, you will see that you have value in the job market. You do. And also, you understand that they're a business, I'm a business. They can terminate your employment at will. You can terminate your employment at will. Better to do a 2 weeks notice, but if you know you're not going back, sometimes you gotta make a business decision. I've seen this happen. I've seen people start a job a year, sometimes 6 months go by, they get recruited by somebody else, offer them double, almost triple the money. They have to make a business decision. I'm talking about every color. I'm not just talking about black. I'm talking about every color. Black, white, Indian. You have to understand that you are a business, and you have to understand that before you get old enough and you can't capitalize, you have to capitalize as much as you can, because you never know when the decline is going to hit. You never know what's around the corner. So it's kind of like being in the NFL or NBA. You have to get as much value, as much out of your value as you can, negotiate, and get as much as you can. So when it's time to decline, you could decline gracefully, and it won't feel like you playing catch up or you trying to crunch. You in a crunch. But I can say that IT is one of the fields that, as long as your mind is conditioned, you take care of your mind, take care of your body, you can do it for a while, even as you get in retirement age. I've seen guys that they don't even have to retire. They become like managers, project managers, and they probably making 80, 90K a year at 65, 70. That's what they do. And that's their retirement. Plus, they already they're in IRA. Was it 401k? They still contributing to that. And they work until they can't no more, because the money is so simple to make, because you got the skills already. And they just working to the point they can't work no more. Then they retire, because the money's too easy. As a business, the money is too easy not to walk away from. It's not about greed, it's about generating money. When you become an adult, it's about how can you generate money. And if you understand business, if you do this while you're young, most of the time, I know I didn't do it, but I'm giving you the information now. If you have a strategy, educate yourself around your skills, you can get a job that can fund you while you're starting a business. And then when you get to the point of business where you don't need a job, then you can leave. Or you can have a business where you can do both. There are a lot of people who work in tech and have a side business, and the side business could be making more than what they're making at their job. But they stay at the job because they, as a business decision, they use the job for the benefits that they have. They use that money from the job to invest while they run a business on the side. Invest more in their 401k. Invest more into a Roth. There are separate Roth accounts. Invest more into real estate of their own house where they live in, invest in it. There are so many ways to carve into success that is crazy, but it seems like it's only a few of them that's being highlighted on social media. But the people who are successful, probably they're not on social media like that. And then if they are, nobody gonna listen to them, because they're gonna tell you there is no quick way to get rich. It's strategies, it's decision, it's choices, and hard work. And then once you get there, you have to educate yourself on how to maintain your success. Nothing worse than getting to having $1 million, but you don't know how to manage it right, and then you get right back to square root. But it happens a lot. So you got to understand that you're a business. And if you're a business, how do you scale up? How do you make yourself better? How do you give yourself leverage? And how do you maximize? You have to think that way. So with that being said, thanks for watching my Friday night rant.
I'm too deep to change. Everybody know my name. I guess I gotta charge it to the game.
So appreciate you for watching. Certifications or degrees. Let me know in the comments what you think. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. I know there's probably like 80, 90% of people not subscribed. Please subscribe, help us grow so we can spread more content. Thinking Game Podcast, CTM Sports. Shout out to my boy Fawcett for sharing that post. We was talking about Cedric Cobbs and DP. Appreciate that. So with that being said, let us know in the comments you'd like to hear us talk about Little Rock sports more. Stuff we saw growing up. Working on that, I got to get with my bros, see how they feel about that. But with that being said, signing out this thing. Thanks for watching. CTM TV, Mike Motivation, Thinking Game Podcast, and I'm signing out.